Joining us now, we're going back to our top story, of course, the fact that ITV Digital's been put into administration this afternoon. Joining us now is the former Sports Minister, Tony Banks. Mr. Banks, the Football League has been conspicuous by its silence this afternoon. Do you think its brinkmanship has backfired on it?
Well, I know, because obviously there are negotiations that must still go on. Politicians are free to speak as they see on this one, and I've been following this story fairly closely over recent weeks, and there's a major crisis now facing Football League clubs, a major crisis, probably the worst crisis that they've ever faced in the history of the Football League. If only half the horror stories we've been reading recently are true, large numbers of clubs around the country in towns and cities will be facing bankruptcy if this doesn't work. And quite frankly, we all know that going into administration is a way of delaying, as it were, a final bankruptcy. I believe that Granada and Carlton, who are the two major companies who back ITV Digital, have got a moral responsibility to fulfil the contract that ITV Digital voluntarily and willingly took out with the Football League. It's not the Football League's fault that the audiences haven't been up to ITV Digital's expectations, or advertising revenue have fallen. They had a contract with ITV Digital, and it's now got to be honoured by Carlton and by Granada.
Do you think, though, the government could have done more to prevent things coming to this crisis?
Well, what's the government's role in all of this? I mean, you know, we're talking about contracts entered into freely by a commercial company and by the Football League. The government's role is peripheral in all of this. The government obviously got a close interest in the future of digital television in this country. But, you know, the idea that somehow other people's incompetence can somehow be visited back on the door of the government, which means the taxpayer, is not something that I think that we should be prepared to accept. We can't allow Carlton and Granada, who are in the end the backers of ITV Digital, to, as it were, slope away into the night and leave this particular problem for others to deal with, and say somehow the government's got to walk in here.
All the same, though, this £315 million deal set against an economic background which probably couldn't have been predicted when this was first laid out on the table. Do you think, though, the sums of money involved in these football deals has gone out of hand? Well,
it's not got out of hand. It can't get out of hand if you go into a contract. I mean, whether it was unrealistic with the benefit of hindsight is another matter. And I think if Sky B, for example, were to be negotiating today with the Premier League, they would have actually negotiated a much lower rate than they did previously. But that's another matter. You know, these things go in cycles. In the meantime, a real crisis is being faced, or will be faced, by, you know, who knows, dozens of Football League clubs who budgeted for this money around the country. And that means towns and cities are going to lose something that's very, very important to them, and that's their football club.
Tony Banks, thank you very much. Let's go live now to ITN's James Bays, who is outside ITV Digital's headquarters. James, what's the response from there tonight?
Well, ITV Digital and their shareholders, both Granada and Carlton, have been speaking tonight, and they say that this is a positive development for the survival of On Digital. This move, putting ITV Digital into administration, is the only way to restructure the company to give it a future. Mr. Banks was there talking about the two shareholders, Carlton and Granada, sloping off into the night. They're making it clear that they're going to still put forward funding to keep the service going for the future, although that service from today, while it's in administration, will be run by the accountancy company Deloitte Touche.
James Bays, thank you very much.